entrepreneurs, business owners, professionals who seek excellence, bringing the business classroom to you. It's the Business Builders Show. Here's Marty Wolf.
We still got a long way to go. Yes, we all got a long way to go.
Welcome to the Business Builders Show with Marty Wolf. And a special welcome to my guest host, J. Kelly Hoey. Along with Kelly and our executive producer, DC Taylor, we will be your guides on this learning journey. J. Kelly Hoey and I want to enthusiastically share stories and information to inspire leaders. And we are all leaders at some point, so you can then inspire others. You can find out more about J. Kelly Hoey at jkellyhoey.co. That's jkellyhoey.co. And you can find Kelly on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. The Business Builder Show is distributed by C-Suite Radio. You can find the Business Builder Show and many other fine shows on C-Suite Radio. That's at www.c-suiteradio.com.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.
Okay, Kelly, let's get going.
Thanks, Marty. This is Kelly Hoey, guest host of the Business Builder Show, and our guest today is Carlos Pacheco. Hey, Carlos.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. And Carlos is based in Toronto. He is a partner in the CMO at Truly. So, Carlos, for those who may not have listened to our Business Builder Show interview with your business partner and partner in crime and partner in life, Tara Hunt, what is Truly?
Well, Truly is a digital strategy and insights firm. We're based in Toronto, Canada. We focus on building digital strategies that help brands connect with their best customer. We're not interested in running a quick and forgettable campaign. We're interested in working with clients that want to build their advocacy, their influence online.
That's, well, here begs the question, what's the difference between tactics and strategy? Because I think people, with respect to the digital world, get that really confused.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's sort of using platforms in a very tactical basis. So one quick example is we had a client that we were pitching, and then they told us that they were just going to spend $50,000 a month on Facebook ads. And we were like, but why? And the idea here is to build a strategy that really finds your audience. But just because a platform is hot right now doesn't mean you should be spending a ridiculous amount of money on a campaign that will be forgotten the moment it's gone. We're trying to build strategies here that build relationships that stay in people's minds after they're done or are consistent. So tactics get forgotten very quickly, and people focus a little bit too much on the individual tactics.
Kelly, I have a question right away, if you don't mind.
I'm hoping you do.
So you said at the very beginning you help your clients connect with their best customers. And I guess you started to go down that road in the last comment you made, but do you help them find out who those best customers are? How do they find those best customers? And what's it look like after that?
So the way we work is we take a very long time. When I say a long time, I mean, a couple of months, 6 to 8 weeks to really dig into what a client, a brand is online, who are engaging with the brand, who is, the people that are engaging with the brand, the current clients, what they're reading, their feedback, as well as the history of what the client has done in the past, to really see who, is their core audience. Right. And when we say we find a best customer, we find a customer that is already a fan, right? And somebody that's already somebody that the brand is already in some way has a relationship with, and then discover how that person talks about the brand, or how they encourage or recommend that brand, and what they're reading so that we can find other people that fit the same mold, that are already that sort of would be part of that best customer ecosystem.
Okay. Great. Kelly, take it back. What's your next question?
Well, having been in the Truly offices, I know you guys have a lot of sophisticated tools to do that, to find, that best customer. But I mean, I think it's a really important distinction in what you do is, the whole lot more research rather than just simply, looking at what other people are doing and having sort of I want to follow what they did, flashy something or other that, as you have already noted, is ultimately forgettable. There's a whole lot I want to dive into, but I want to dive back for a second, Carlos, in terms of your own career, because your entrepreneurial pursuits are recent. When you left Boat Rocker for Truly, your career started in media buying and strategy. I've noted from other interviews that you have had that, this was, I'm going to say your dive into marketing is totally by accident because you studied accounting? I'm trying to picture you as an accountant, my friend, and I'm having a really hard time with that one. Let's talk about the lateral moves you made that positioned you for where you are now, and positioned you for the opportunity for when you went over to Just for Laughs, and positioned you for being this voice and authority when it comes to digital, especially around video.
I mean, my career has always been a surprise to me. I'm a first generation immigrant. I thought I was going to become a mechanic when I, dropped out of college. And, I ended up studying to be a sort of like an assistant accountant, and, math worked. And that went well, but for some reason I ended up in an advertising agency that needed somebody that knew how to handle computers. This is, 20 years ago when, just having basic Excel knowledge was enough to get you a job. And for many years in the advertising world, I sort of, jumped from agency to agency. I did a lot of, I would say, more lateral moves than, upward moves, because I felt like, the advertising world has so many layers, so many different parts to it, that I wanted to learn, different facets, different ways of doing marketing. Started, traditional print, radio, and then I moved to digital. And when I moved to digital, I really found my calling, because I never sort of understood the metrics behind, analog advertising or traditional advertising, but I understood the metrics of digital. And once that, got going, I just embraced it. And same thing, digital marketing has a lot of layers. You traditionally jump into media buying and buying banner ads within website. Then I switched over to search engine marketing for a few years. And then once social came into the ecosystem, I jumped into that as well. By pure luck, by, knowing the right people, I was introduced to somebody at Just for Laughs. His name was Andy Nelman, who was actually one of the founders of Just for Laughs in Montreal. And he told me that he had a crew of people messing around on YouTube, but had no idea what they were doing. So, he said, I'll give you a job just to take control of that. And I took it. I needed a new challenge. I got bored a little bit of advertising and used my knowledge of marketing and shaped the content on the Just for Laughs YouTube channel so that it became a powerhouse YouTube channel. And this is stuff like SEO optimization, video optimization. These are all tactical things that help a YouTube channel grow. And, we're going on 10 years ago. It's flying by when I think about it. But, 10 years ago, YouTube wasn't telling people how to make YouTube videos. And the only way to learn was by doing and following what the creators were doing. And, within 18 months, that channel turned into a 4 million subscriber YouTube channel, generating between $1.5 to $2 million a year. extra revenue that the company wasn't planning to get.
Wow.
And then once I told them, hey, I gave you all this revenue, can you give me maybe 10% of it so that I can make original content? Because this was all repurposed content and all that sort of stuff. They said, no, thanks. That money disappeared in somebody's pocket. And I said, well, I'm going to go look for other challenges. And I found myself in Toronto at a company called Boat Rocker Media. And I found myself doing the same thing. They had a bunch of content. They didn't know how to handle it. I helped with a team internally. It's sort of like put the seeds in to create what we call a YouTube network within the company and distribution ecosystem within the company to distribute content on YouTube. 5 years later, by the time I left, there was like 2-3 dozen YouTube channels, some with hundreds of thousands of subscribers, others with tens of thousands of subscribers, all different types of content, generating not the same numbers as Just for Laughs, but enough to be interesting for a distribution company. And then my wife came calling. She's like, during this time, she was building this agency, and she's like, I need help because I'm getting more and more clients, and my knowledge, my experience would help on some of the tactics that they work on. And I jumped ship just shy of 1 year ago, and it's been deer in headlights moments every
there's so much in that. I want to say in that career, your career path, like I said, Carlos, listening to other interviews that you've done, and I've known you for a few years, but not knowing all the details on this. Things I want to highlight is you have this curiosity, and you were prepared to make, whether it was sort of knowingly or not, interesting lateral moves that then gave you this sort of accumulated body of knowledge that then opened up future opportunities, and that willingness to say, hey, I can learn. I think I want to, one of the things people should know, and I want to stress this, back at, to your days at Just for Laughs, you had no ad budget. No. So part of this is, what is some basic tactics that, you've got a larger strategy, but if your larger strategy doesn't have money behind it, that's no excuse. There is some, basic tactics people can put into play in their business to kind of generate interest and pulling all of that forward. God, there's like so many things. One of the things I want to jump on this with you is, because from when you discovered YouTube somewhat by accident, as you've noted before, and changes in algorithms that are in many ways killing the business model for YouTubers. We don't have time in this podcast to go into Facebook's litany of problems. Are there platforms that are supporting creators and when I say creators, I mean business owners? And what are your thoughts now that, I would say these social platforms that at one point were really a key and a ticket to growing your business, who knows these days, but I would like your thoughts.
Well, I'm part of me is trying to not be sort of like such a gung-ho for YouTube, but it's really tough. When I look at how the Facebooks and even the LinkedIn now, they've sort of like created this false sort of like, this drug that we got used to of this free reach and closed it all up. And now it's, you get absolutely no traction on Facebook unless you spend money, unless you're creating a dumb viral video that has absolutely nothing to do or brings no value to your audience and your business. And, I feel like LinkedIn's going the same path. All I see right now on LinkedIn are people taking selfies while they're running and giving me their business insights. I'm like, I'm not really interested in seeing your jogging path. But whereas YouTube, like the fundamental thing with YouTube is that it's got some social layer to it, but it's got the algorithm, the search algorithm that's so valuable, so powerful. I'm constantly impressed. Like I get hired by people who have dormant, dead YouTube channels or channels that are not scaling. And I start just doing what I do, tweaking it up and telling them this is what you're doing wrong, this is what you're doing wrong. And then within, weeks, the channel's getting a lift without really, the client's not changing what, they're not changing their effort in terms of like output, but just a couple of like insights in terms of how they send it out or when they send it out or how they format it, completely changes the momentum of their channel. And there's no like virality to these videos. It's just they're useful videos. And, again, I see channels that are very basic and do not have viral content bring incredible amount of values and leads for some of our clients.
Wow. Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe that's the difference. Maybe that's sort of the point of the difference between using YouTube as a lead generation, because you have an underlying business that is not relying on, I want to say, advertisement or something on YouTube, but you've got some underlying business. And this, I want to say, between the search algorithm, the social component, how you can use it as a tool as part of your strategy to grow your business. Am I kind of getting that right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and so Kelly, it's a good time to make sure people know how to get a hold of Carlos because he's giving them all these gems. We want people to be able to connect with them.
Yeah, Carlos, where is like the best places for people to find you?
Well, you can find me on Twitter. Search Carlos Pacheco. It's really hard to sort of say my Twitter handle online because it's got a underscore. But or you can email me at carlos@trulyinc.com. Trulyinc.com is a great place as well for you guys anybody to reach out and sort of like go through the process of getting in touch with us. That's a way to get in touch.
Yeah, and you should follow Carlos on Twitter and get his new media update. I know Marty's a fan.
Oh, I'm a big fan. I was just going to interrupt to say we are going to talk about this, aren't we? Because I love the Media Landscape newsletter. Carlos, where did that come from? Why are you doing it? It's great stuff. I'm loving the content. Talk to me about that.
So I use an app called Nuzzle. And Nuzzle is one of those gems when it comes to finding really great content that your friends are sharing. It has this algorithm where it looks at Twitter, it looks at Facebook. I think it looks also at LinkedIn and tells you what the people that you're following are sharing across the platforms. And I'm always about, putting together pieces of content that are talking about media from a different perspective, from something that's not, I don't want to talk about the latest hit Netflix show. I want to talk about, how media is evolving, how content is evolving within this industry, and how, innovators in the industry are using the content. And that's what I tend to curate in my newsletter. Yeah. And what's great about Nuzzle is that it auto-generates a newsletter. During the week, I'm sort of going through content, reading articles here and there, and I'll just say, okay, this one's worth it for the media newsletter, and it's added to my queue, and it shoots off every week. It's not a huge subscriber base, so I've got a couple of dozen people signed up to it, but I don't really do much promotion out of it. It's just something that came organically with time. Hopefully,
it's awesome. I love it. I love it.
But I also think you're providing a valuable service, and if it's for a couple of dozen people, and I think I want to ask you something about metrics. I'm also thinking this with the Brain Pickings newsletter, Maria Popova, which now is a global phenomenon, but it started off as an internal email she sent to 7 people she worked with, and my guess is she would still just be sending that newsletter, that email to these 7 colleagues, even if it hadn't grown any farther, because of that need to share that information and something valuable. So, I'm leading on all of this, and but before I do is, looking at, kind of the timeline and the number of questions that I've got for you, Carlos. I need you to, before I ask you this question, I need you to promise that you're going to come back on the Business Builder Show, because I have so much more to ask you.
Sure. Maybe one day when I actually know how to build a business.
Oh, you're so funny. You built a lot of people's businesses. Now you're building your own. So, boom. You know what? I'm gonna do the next interview when I'm in Toronto, so I can thump you when you say answers like that, because I'll be right beside you, Truly Studio, and I can strangle you and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. You've shared on another podcast that real-time metrics were part of what, and you've talked about it today. What drew you into marketing? What's the value and the danger of real-time metrics?
For me, the value is always learning what works and where you can optimize to make sure that you're reaching the right people. The danger, I feel, is what I tend to fall into is sort of like just being obsessed by the numbers. One of the things that we have a wealth management client that we ended up building 4 YouTube channels for, and they're now going on their 3rd year, and one channel's blowing up like crazy. He's going where we used to boost videos for everybody. He doesn't need to be boosted anymore. He's getting thousands of views on each upload organically. But at the same time, some of his other colleagues are getting a fraction of that and still need to be boosted. However, the other colleagues still are getting business leads out of their small viewership, right? And they don't, they still seeing value out of that. And that's where, the sort of like the quick metrics, the fast numbers are completely, to me, overblown. And the most successful people I've seen in this industry or in this scene, and I've worked with a lot of like online creators with millions of subscribers. There's tons of them that I can just like PM and just say, hey, help me out and all that sort of stuff. They're great friends. But the ones that have really done well are the ones that are played the long game. And that's the part that we want to bring to the DNA of our strategies. It's I've never understood a brand that thinks that somebody's going to remember them after a 2-month campaign and come back to them. We always the marketing industry loves to let me say this in a more PG-13 way, loves to pat itself in the back, and saying all these amazing campaigns. It's like nobody remembers your campaign. The only people that remember your campaign are you, But we're trying to sort of like teach brands to think a little bit of how, again, YouTubers have been all over the news over the last few years, and as usual, the media sort of overblows the recent their metrics, but doesn't talk to the fact that the creators have been doing this content for 10 years.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I think that would be. I would love to have you, and we can maybe get your sidekick. And I'm not talking about Ridley. I'm talking about your wife. Get your sidekick with you to talk about those long game strategies, because, knowing what you've recently launched with Nokia, I want to think about your wealth management client, because some people may be thinking, gee, all these digital strategies, they don't fit with my industry because I am, white collar and I do all this kind of stuff. But, where it fits in with their business and client development, there's overall strategy. Where is this a piece that they should look at? You also have a phenomenal real estate client, and I would love to talk about that publication and what that has meant for their site. So get you to come back on talk about all of that. And there's my about, so everyone does know I'm Canadian too, not just Carlos is Canadian on this show. Yeah, anything else, Marty, for Carlos today?
He has to come back. He's whet my appetite. I want to learn more. I love the media landscape. Thank you for doing that for me. It saves me a lot of time. There's things I want to ask, but I'm not going to, because it would stretch this conversation longer. Just make sure that people know how to reach you. Tell us that again, okay?
You can reach me at carlos@trulyinc.com or on trulyinc.com. You can fill out our contact form. That's most likely the best. I'm on Twitter, Carlos Pacheco. I said, a description says Truly partner, Truly.
Okay.
Awesome stuff. Thanks, Carlos.
Thank you, Carlos. Appreciate it. Thanks, J. Kelly Hoey, for being our guest host on the Business Builders Show. You can learn more about Kelly at jkellyhoey.co. That's jkellyhoey, Hoey.co. And of course, you can learn more about me, Marty Wolf, and the Business Builder Show at MartyWolfBusinessSolutions.com. That's MartyWolfBusinessSolutions.com. Remember, you can get all our shows and many other great shows at c-suiteradio.com.
Bringing the business classroom to you. It's the Business Builder Show with Marty Wolf.
As a loyal fan of this C-Suite radio show, we've got an unbelievable offer for you. Listeners to the Business Builder Show get 50% off a C-Suite Network membership. The C-Suite Network will help you become the most strategic person in the room. You'll have access to top-notch benefits and networking, all helping you get the most out of your position. Take advantage of this limited-time offer today. Learn more about the C-Suite Network membership at c-suitenetwork.com/CSR. Again, that's 50% off a C-Suite Network membership at c-suitenetwork.com/CSR.